Hi, I'm Lars, and this is my land. In my land, I get to do pretty much whatever I want, and what I really like is talking, and what I really love is the Beatles. So today I'm going to continue talking about the Beatles, and you're going to listen, because it's my land. It has been 2.5 months since Beatlemania has swept Lars' land, and it is all I do, other than a certain thing that I've been busy doing. I have spent so much time reading, researching, listening, so many deep dives into the Beatles. It's stupid at this point. I've been taking twice daily walks for my health. I listen to their music every single time I walk, so I get that time to intentionally listen to the music and pay attention to it. I thought about getting a Beatles hat so I can protect my dumb redhead skin, but I look like this in hats and I look like this on my walks, and I could just cop one for free off the person I married. So I decided against the hat because the best gift we can give ourselves is knowledge. Knowledge. There are 2 more now. One of them's a library book. I only have 2 unoccupied bookmarks now. I'd planned on making myself finish reading my Paul book before I would film my next Beatles video. However, I got busy doing something else, and then in my free time, I just kept going down my spiral. So I couldn't wait. I have more stuff to say about the Beatles. Welcome to Annoying Memos Land. Beep, 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 beep. I've been working on a video essay series on the TV show Lost, as evidenced by my insanity behind me. This project has been going on for approximately 7.5 months. It's taken forever, but it's coming along. Some would say it's getting better all the time. I'll see myself out. Seriously, I've put a lot of work into this. I've got a binder in my master document. It's 188 pages. They'll be great, and they're definitely worth watching. And if Lost isn't your sort of thing, don't worry, I'll be doing lots of video essays on things like the Beatles, other TV shows, and whatever strikes me, because this is Lars' land and I do what I want here. Just a real quick brief. Wanted to let you know that I have the loudest chair in North America, the driest eyes in the region, and sometimes that TV just goes that way. I would say that I'm sorry and it won't happen again, but it will. This is kind of heavy, but I just want to get it out of the way. I know that they have had some questionable life decisions. This is not the venue for that conversation. There's a massive difference between making a joke about illegitimate children to talking about the consequences and devastation of alcohol and substance abuse. I don't want people to think that I'm just blindly worshiping the Beatles, unaware of things that they have done in their past. I am not some moral authority on people. I am just a fan and a person talking about things in Lars' land. We're here to have fun. This is the only time I'm addressing that. Yes, I know that they've done shitty things, and that's not why I'm here. Sorry, that it's done now. Okay, we're done. Since I started freaking out about the Beatles in the last couple months, people in my life have been telling me, hey, you should check out this band. Hey, you should check out that.
Pass? Like, no disrespect or anything, but pass?
Beatlemania just came to Lars' land. Just let me enjoy things. This is Camelot. Are you really going to tell me to learn about Jimmy Carter when we are in Kennedy? I'm not a musical person. I don't play any instruments. I am married to a musician, so there's always something going on. I go to shows constantly, usually like hardcore, post-hardcore, heavy metal, that kind of stuff. I could describe my musical upbringing and taste in 4 words. The Big Chill soundtrack. It's just stuff, I love it. As far as musically, technically, what the best album is, you're not going to get that information from me. I will not be able to tell you because I don't know. You're also not going to find an album that I don't like, really, except maybe I'm just being honest. It's not that I don't like it, it's just not as much. I have checked out some of the solo work. I wouldn't say that there's one specifically that I like the most. I'm kidding. I like what I've heard. I prefer the Beatles. Gonna take a second to drag my last video. I do not believe that the Beatles would have reunited, done a reunion tour, any of that. I said that I was kind of shaky on no Beatles reunion. And since I have given myself the gift of knowledge, I've changed my stance from shaky to steady as a surgeon. There would not be a reunion. Unless if it was for charity, for something very important to them, there would not be a reunion. If you look at all these bands that we grew up with, or well, our parents grew up with, who am I assuming is watching that? I'm 31. We, the 31-year-olds of the world. When I think about the bands that have done all these big reunion tours, it's always kind of meh. And when they come out with new stuff, you're always kind of like, meh. This is my speculation. I don't think that they would do something if they thought it would be cheesy or lame or a cash grab. This is just being honest. They're too egotistical to do something that would be cheesy. And you know what? Thank God they wouldn't get together. Learning more and more about how the breakup happened, what was happening immediately after. I mentioned mentioned Alan Klein a little bit in the last one. God, that guy sucks. Big loser. There were so many things that were going on. Even if we stripped away all of the management and all of the money and all of the stuff, it's still 4 people that are learning new things about music and new things about their lives, and people do grow apart. It's not that they stopped loving each other or whatever. They all met when they were teenagers. I have to check my timeline. George was 11 and Paul was 12 when they met. Do you know how many friends outside of my brother that I had when I was 11 that I still talk to today? 1. It would be kind of weird if you stayed with all of your friends from like middle school and high school. In fact, I think it's more remarkable that they continued to stay friends later on, even throughout all the stuff that they went through. That probably speaks more to the friendship side of the Beatles than anything else, because I think most people would probably try to kill each other. And I'm not gonna lie, I shouldn't say that.
Look. Dude.
You can't say that. You can't say that.
I'm definitely absolutely censoring that.
Even if they wanted to get back together, all of the hostility from like the fandom toward Yoko and Linda, whoever they thought was at fault, would make it even less joyful. It would just be the most bummer of the bummers. You know what's also a bummer? Oh my god, the comment sections on any Beatles video on YouTube. If you're out there watching this, hi, I'm not talking about the Beatles Vivo like music videos. I'm talking about old interviews, compilation videos, anything like that. First off, there are some conspiracy theories that just don't stop, even though they're completely obvious and provably untrue. People will spend so much time talking crap and nitpicking and saying things about Pete Best and Ringo, about how Paul's voice turned like Elvis and John didn't sound like that before Dylan. It's like, yeah, they weren't good before the blah blah blah. Now it's all fake. There's always something. Or it's like some competition. You know, George was really the unsung hero of the Beatles. It's too bad that they never cared about him. Somebody always has to be pissed. I gotta say, chill. Relax. We are so lucky to have precisely 213 songs by them. Just be happy with what we've got. They did a lot of video stuff. We've got lots of shit to watch. We've got lots of stuff to enjoy. These 2 goofballs are still alive and still talking to people. Let's just stop it. Just be happy. I'm currently really stuck on information from like the touring era. Before they got super famous, they had a residency in Hamburg, and it was in the Reeperbahn, which is like a red light district, and they seriously played for 8 hours a day at a strip club. Brothels left, right, center. Tell me that's not cool. That's like cool as hell. I listened to an interview or like a letter from George Harrison the other day where he's talking about how rabid fans would climb up through skylights, through places, and get hurt. In one situation, 46 people were sent to the hospital. That is so scary. Anyway, our boys had a good time. One of my favorite things from this book, sex had always been pressingly on offer, whether on the Reeperbahn or outside the cavern, when roadie Neil Aspinall and his hulking deputy Mal Evans would bring in willing females along with the takeaway fish and chips or chicken. After Brian arrived and the world touring began, it became part of room service. Among the Beatles' welcoming delegation at airports across America would usually be 4 high-priced prepaid hookers to console them for being unable to set foot outside their hotels. When I first read that, I was like, my boys. And then I was like, my boys. Another thing I just want to talk about, and I think we're just going to go ahead and put a big meanie alert here. I just want to talk about the first drummer of the Beatles, Pete Best. People talk a lot about how he was kicked out of the band. And he was kicked out of the band because he wasn't good enough. There was a Pete Best interview where he looked so sad. And he was just saying, they were just jealous of me. Well, if you listen to Pete's drumming versus Ringo's drumming, I don't think it was jealousy. I'm not going to play examples. I'm not going to play a single second of Beatles music. Forget copyright strikes. I think you get on like some sort of list for even trying. It's probably just called, you can't do that. Just do a cursory YouTube search. You'll find the difference. The dude couldn't hang. He just frankly wasn't good enough. And also from this book and a couple other places. But the truth was that Pete had never really fitted into the band. He was too quiet and self-contained and lacking in John's and Paul's verbal and intellectual sparkle. He didn't go out with them. He just would like stay in their room. Dude couldn't hang. To further the Pete Best argument,
it was almost like we were waiting to get going and we couldn't go until all the Beatles were in the frame. Ringo was the member of the band. It's just that he didn't enter the film until that particular scene, you know?
If you don't want to believe me, you believe George Harrison. You will always believe George Harrison. While you're doing that quick YouTube search for old Beatles stuff, go look up Beatles bloopers. Where the comment section situation really lacks, the YouTube Beatles memes community really just gives. One taketh and one giveth. Go look up Beatles bloopers because you can hear how hard John is working his voice. They would work his voice until it would crack. I watched an interview with George Martin, the Beatles producer. A lot of people call him the fifth Beatle, but they call a lot of people the fifth Beatle. Who's the fifth Beatle? Brian Epstein, George Martin, Jimmy Nichols, Billy Preston. They recorded Please Please Me in one day. There's 14 songs. They waited to record Twist and Shout for the very end, so John had a raspier voice. George Martin had him take 3 takes. By the third, he was just cracked so bad that they couldn't have it, so the master was the second one. Go listen to it. It is insane. No wonder Paul's and his voice has changed so much over the next couple of years. They couldn't have kept singing like that. And Get Back, the thing that I played last time where he's like, ah, he says he doesn't want it to hurt every time he sings. I wondered about all the rock stars from this era and how they took care of their voices. Didn't, take care of their voices. A lot of them smoked like freight trains. But then you think about people like King Diamond smoked like crazy and his voice is just unacceptably good. I've seen him in concert. Have you seen him in concert? Oh my God, go see him in concert. Oh my God, go see him in concert. We can all say that smoking is bad. Hot take. I'm just interested in how overworked they were. I saw this one interview. I'm just gonna keep freaking saying that too. I saw this one interview, but I did. They're talking about what day it is. Somebody says, I don't know what day it is. And George says, really, what day is it? Can you imagine? They don't know where they were the week before. They have lost track of time and they don't know what day it is. That is so crazy because even though they love music, they love touring, they're having a lot of fun and they're too young to realize how crazy all of this is. How could you even process that, right? Like there's no way. I was just thinking about all the press and how it has impacted the Beatles. That is something that is covered quite a bit in the Get Back documentary. It's covered in, this is George Harrison's documentary on HBO. It's George Harrison living in the material world. Go watch that. It's good. It's 2 parts. They talk about the press and how the press would take lots of liberties and skew things. Can't believe I'm saying this. I have a confession. I'm a journalist. I can hear it now. You need to leave. No, for real. Needless to say, I know a few things about reporting. I don't know jack about entertainment reporting, but when I look at some of the stuff that was said about them, it was incredibly unfair. Some of the stuff that they printed about the girls was just, God, it blows my mind. But there is an interview in this documentary where George, he's younger, he says sometimes it doesn't even register that the story is about you. It says it's about George Harrison. Well, I'm George Harrison, but it doesn't feel like they're writing about you. I bet it didn't. Some of the stuff that people would write were completely exaggerated or patently untrue. No wonder George had such a hard time with the public after the Beatles. People were pretty rough on George.
Let's have a fight between, George and Paul now, but actually I love Paul, he's my mate, and it doesn't matter what they say in the papers, it's not gonna, they're not gonna get much mileage out of that one.
Back to the steady as a surgeon thing, Paul and John used the press in the 70s just to yell at each other. They didn't pick up the phone, they would just bitch to the press. If they did get on the phone, they would be able to communicate without the filter of someone else reading through and writing it, because no matter how, this is gonna get me fired. Oh God, thank God I'm a freelancer. No matter how unbiased you are as a reporter, and you should be, you cannot change your personal filter of wording and the reader's interpretation of such. So when you're reading something about the Beatles anthology that George refused to do a 3rd track, they were going to do 3 new tracks, George did 2 and refused the 3rd. Refused could mean that he was angry and I'm done, or refused could be it could be a complete and utter row, or it could be nothing, and it depends on how you're reading it, because you're not even hearing it from someone saying it, you're reading it on Wikipedia. You can take things so differently. Even the most responsible journalist can't change some of those things. You do your very best, and that's from the responsible journalists. A lot of these people were not that. They were paparazzi. For years, most people thought that John and George got in a fist fight during the Get Back recording sessions. It's on the Get Back documentary. It never happened, and for years people took that and run that. They hated each other. John beat the crap out of George all the time. And When We Was Fab by George Harrison, he says something about how the media magnifies all the problems. That's what's so weird about the Beatles, is that there is just this mania. I am obviously going through it. I understand why people now, maybe not so much in the 60s, but now, if someone saw Paul McCartney or Ringo Starr in person, they might cry. It would be similar to going to a place of history or seeing a remarkable piece of art, something that has changed the shape of the world. You know that the Beatles did. When I was a kid, I knew about the Beatles. I knew what they looked like. I knew their music. I knew Stones. I knew Dylan because of my mom's records, because she was cooler than me. I knew them, but I didn't know what their music sounded like. I didn't know what the Rolling Stones sounded like until Britney Spears covered Satisfaction, and then I'd heard the actual song. There's a difference. I could see why you'd get emotional. I would. Unfortunately, I'm a crier. I will cry at the drop of a hat, just like Ringo.
I mean, I cry easy, and I mean, just the other day, just because we're all sitting here, George and I watched this movie that Yoko was making about John, and I just get emotional. Oh, don't tell me, don't.
I gotta say, I think the best thing about being a Beatles fan is what I said earlier, is that there's just like this bottomless well of stuff to pull from. You can never get bored. You've got so much to learn from, and that's why I'm going to continue to have these videos talking about how much I love these stupid dorks. And all of that brings me back to the steady as a surgeon thing. Thank God they didn't get back together. Think of all the things that they had to deal with and all the stress and all of the pressure. I think we got the best version because they went out on a high. Everybody loves Abbey Road. 213 songs. So much audio, footage, video, interview, book, so much information on them that we are very lucky. If you're a Beatles fan like me, you can continue to consume that information and learn about how they changed history for as long as you want. And I'm just glad that the Beatles didn't continue to go and make crappy old music that they hated, and then they would become some sort of cliche or a meme. By ending the band at 70, they kept their music in this untarnished, beautiful place that we can all really love. Whether or not you love their solo stuff or not, you can just be like, yeah, but the Beatles. So the good news for me is that I've got so much to learn, and I can continue here in my land talking about the Beatles. So I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching. Bye. Watch my lost video essays. They're going to be so good.